There are quite a few mistranslations across the Pokemon world. So, good morning fellas, my name is Matt, and that's what Elias and I are going to check out today. We'll take a look at translation errors in various languages, as well as several other bad localization choices. Alright, let's get started.
What's up, I'm Elias, and let's kick things off today for a second time with Flame Wheel.
Oh my god.
This move's name means pretty much the same thing in every language, but Korean is one major exception. Flame Wheel's Korean name translates to Flame Car instead, which was a translation mistake that stayed in the games for over 20 years.
Here's Flame Wheel's Japanese name. The second half here is ambiguous, which is likely how the mistranslation happened. This word can mean either wheel or car, and the Korean localizers chose the wrong one. This error was eventually fixed in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Flame Wheel's Korean name was finally updated, and this word does mean wheel.
Here's what Matt's not going to tell you, is that this is actually the second take because he messed everything up the first time.
Slander on the internet. No, that's what happened. That's exactly what happened.
It's exactly true. It's not slander if it's true. Pokemon games used to have a 2-round localization process. The Japanese version of the game would be created first, then it would be translated into English. When the time came to create the other localizations, most languages used the English version as their base instead of Japanese. That means if the English games had an error, it would likely spread to other versions during the localization process because the translators often didn't have the original Japanese text to refer back to. Perhaps the most famous example is Magikarp's starting move. Its Japanese name is this word, which can mean either splash or hop in English. When Gen 1 was being localized, Nintendo of America chose to call the move Splash. The game's English translator was Nob Ogasawara, and he pushed back against that choice. He wanted to call the move Flop instead, which he felt described the move a little better than Hop.
Nob knew that Splash was a terrible name because it heavily implied that water was involved. He suspected that it could cause issues later on, and wouldn't you know it, he was right. But his boss at Nintendo insisted they stick with Splash. Over the years, this mistranslation has had quite a few consequences. In Gen 2, several other Pokemon were given access to Splash, and most of them had almost nothing to do with splashing or water. That includes fellows like Hoppip, Cleffa, and Sunkern. I feel like I would have preferred Hop over Flop as the name for the move, but maybe that's just me.
That's just you. The list of Pokemon that can learn Splash has only grown since then. Nob knew that this was a possibility, but he didn't want to argue with Nintendo about it and risk losing his job, so the mistranslation stuck around. Since most versions of Gen 1 were translated from English, it's also called Splash in many other languages.
You prefer Flop?
That's right, you're wrong, and I'm right.
Oh my god.
As we establish every single episode.
How many times have I hit you with an extremely loud, incorrect buzzer?
Never.
Wrong. This error has also had an effect on the spin-off games. In the main series, Splash is a normal type move, but it's water type in Pokemon Go. If it were called Hop or Flop in English, that almost certainly wouldn't have happened. But thanks to Nintendo ignoring Nob's suggestion, this move is associated with water in most languages.
Starting in Generation 5, Pokemon localization was streamlined considerably. Instead of going from Japanese to English to Spanish, for example, Pokemon Black and White were translated from Japanese directly into Spanish, and the same goes for every other language. English is no longer used as a middleman, which means that if a mistake pops up, it won't affect any other languages. I wonder how many Japanese to Spanish translators exist in this world.
That's a great question. Sometimes I wonder about that. Like, what kind of kinds of job opportunities are there for people who can translate from, say,
Dutch to Swahili,
Cantonese to Afrikaans? Splash is one of the worst English move names in Pokemon, but let's take a look at another contender. The names of multi-hit moves are usually understandable. Double Kick and Double Iron Bash obviously hit twice, Triple Kick hits 3 times, except when it doesn't, and Double Hit hits twice, except when it isn't even an attacking move. If you went up to somebody who's never played Pokemon and you asked them how many times Double Slap hits, they'd probably say 2. And you know, in a perfect world they'd be right, and the answer wouldn't be any more complicated than that. But we're not allowed to have nice things, so here we are.
Double Slap hits 2 to 5 times at random because of course it does. Each quote-unquote hit consists of 2 slaps, which could be how it got its English name. But if a multi-hit move has double or triple in its name, that usually means it deals up to 2 or 3 rounds of damage respectively. Double Slap is the one exception, so it stands out as a strange translation choice. It's not necessarily wrong per se, but it's one of our least favorite move names nonetheless.
Double Slap's Japanese name translates to Round Trip Slap, which is much more fitting in our humble onion. Each round trip counts as 1 hit, and you can make up to 5 round trips before the turn ends. But thanks to the dubious English translation, Double Slap's name includes some word for double in many other languages too. This time though, the French version managed to escape the vortex. The move's French name simply means slaps, with no implication about the number of slaps whatsoever.
Chinese Pokemon media has always been translated directly from Japanese, so the Mandarin and Cantonese versions of the anime didn't get caught up in all that nonsense that happened in English. In Mandarin, Double Slap is called Dian Huan Ba Zhang, which roughly means consecutive slaps. That name also eventually made it into the video games when they were translated to Chinese for the first time in Gen 7.
Sometimes a move's English name will be correct, but subsequent translations won't be. Chansey and Clefairy's first attacking move is Pound, which is an accurate translation of its original name. This Japanese word roughly means hit, but the word pound can mean a lot of other things in English too. It could refer to a unit of weight, the currencies of countries like the UK or Egypt, or an animal shelter like a dog pound. Most languages picked a suitable translation for this move, but a handful didn't.
What would be slander is if I said that you had actually broken into the Bank of America on Flatbush Avenue in 2017 and stole 57 cents from the vault.
What would 15-year-old me need to rob a Bank of America for 57 cents for?
Well, you assumed there would be more. When Gen 1 was translated into German, pound ended up getting this name. This word can refer to currency or weight, but it doesn't mean hit. This translation error stayed in the games for over 20 years before it was finally fixed in Generation 8. Starting in Sword and Shield, pound's German name is this word, which means something along the lines of smack or slap. The Italian version of Gen 1 had a similar issue. This word refers to weight rather than hitting someone, but this error was fixed much sooner. Pound's current Italian name was adopted in Gen 3, and it means hit or blow.
Folks, I gotta pronounce Spanish and Italian in these next couple paragraphs, so this will be great. I have taken classes for these languages. I don't guarantee I'm gonna say them 100% correctly. Here's another name that ran into a similar issue. Counter's English name is effectively short for counterattack, but like the word pound, counter has many possible definitions, and the Spanish and Italian localizers picked the wrong one when they were translating the Gen 1 games. Counter was originally called contador in Spanish and contatore in Italian. These words refer to someone or something that counts, like an online word counter. They can also refer to a device that measures things like an electrical meter, and contador can also mean accountant. These mistranslations stuck around in the games for quite a long time. Counter Spanish and Italian names remained unchanged for 5 generations before finally being corrected in Gen 6. Now the move is called contraataque in Spanish and contrattacco in Italian, which are both cognates with the English word counterattack.
Did someone say taco?
Yes. Not really.
You remember that old taco song? It's raining tacos from out of the sky?
It's raining tacos from out of the sky. Yeah, I do.
How old is that song?
Oh god, that's gotta be ancient by now, right?
13 years ago, wow. Now let's head to the Alola region, because there's a mistranslation hiding in Hapu's house. She's got all sorts of Pokemon living with her, including a Sudowoodo. If you initiate dialogue with a Pokemon, they'll often say part of their name. But if you do that with Sudowoodo, it'll yell out lies, which is an awfully bold thing to say to a silent protagonist. How are you going to accuse me of lying when I haven't even said anything to you? You know what? Screw you, buddy. I'm gonna go beat you to death.
While Elias does that, let me explain how this mistranslation probably came about. This is Sudowoodo's Japanese name, which may come from the words for lie and tree. In the Japanese version of the Gen 7 games, Sudowoodo just says the first part of its name. Instead of making it say pseudo or something in English, the localizers translated this dialogue literally. Uso means lie, so they made the Sudowoodo say lies.
Let's take a look at a few mistranslations in the anime next. If you've got a foreign language TV show, it'll typically get one English dub, which will air throughout the English-speaking world. But it's fairly common for shows to get 2 Portuguese dubs, one for Brazil and one for Portugal. That especially goes for shows aimed at younger audiences like Pokemon. Portuguese speakers from Brazil often say they have a hard time understanding people from Portugal because there are considerable differences in the spoken language. Generally speaking, vowels in European Portuguese tend to become shorter and unstressed syllables, meaning they aren't pronounced as clearly as they are in Brazil. There are also quite a few differences in how consonants are pronounced. As a result, some Brazilian Portuguese speakers have an easier time understanding Spanish compared to European Portuguese. Since the language's accents vary so drastically, the Pokemon anime has 2 Portuguese versions.
They only had 57 cents in the whole building.
Yeah, I don't know if that's more of an indictment on your behavior or like Bank of America's business model, but whatever.
In one episode of the Black and White series, Drayden challenges Iris to a battle. During said battle, Iris tells her Excadrill to use Drill Run, which got mistranslated in one of the Portuguese dubs. In Brazil, Iris has to use Hurricane instead, which Excadrill very much cannot learn. So what happened here? Well, Drill Run has had 2 different names in Brazil over the years, and the one that caused issues is on your screen now.
This name is spelled almost exactly the same as Hurricane in Portuguese. The only difference is that Drill Run is spelled with a cedilla, which turns the hard C into a soft one. Iris pronounced the move's name with a hard C, which could have happened because of a typo when the script was translated, or a mistake on the voice actor's part. This error didn't happen in the European Portuguese dub because their name for Drill Run is completely different.
You know, we actually do have quite a few viewers from Brazil. I made a short about this, and a lot of the comments were, yeah, Brazil mentioned, let's go. So shout outs to everybody watching from Brazil.
Nice. Shout out to all my Brazilian boss boys.
Mistranslations also led to one anime character accidentally switching genders. The Legend of Thunder is a made-for-TV movie about Raikou, which originally aired exclusively in Japan. A few years later, it was dubbed into English. Then it was repackaged and aired as the first 3 episodes of Pokemon Chronicles. The main villains are Attila and Hun, who spend the movie trying to capture Raikou. Attila is a guy, but Hun's gender depends on which version you're watching. Hun is a man in Japanese, but a woman in English, which is a result of a mistranslation in the script.
Bowdy Blaustein was the English voice actor for several notable characters in the anime, like Lieutenant Surge, Bruno, and Team Rocket's Meowth. According to a Q&A she did in 2008, the script was translated to English in Japan, then it was sent to 4Kids so they could make the dub. Whoever translated said script accidentally referred to Hun as a she, so 4Kids chose a female voice actor for the role. The actress who got the part was Veronica Taylor, who was best known for playing Ash Ketchum himself.
I didn't realize this until I did my research. Veronica Taylor also played May.
Just talking to herself, huh?
I find it really fun when voice actors play multiple characters in the same scene. A lot of Family Guy is just Seth MacFarlane talking to himself. This mistranslation led to an inconsistency in the movie's dialogue. There's a scene where Raikou is being treated at the Pokemon Center, and 2 characters named Eugene and Kudo are introduced. Even though Han is a woman in English, Kudo refers to Attila and Han as the men who attacked Raikou.
Across the Pokemon series, there have been several instances of a move sharing its name with something else. Glare was introduced in Gen 1, and it was given this name in French, which is a cognate of the English word intimidation. That was all well and good for the first 2 generations, but then Ruby and Sapphire added abilities to the mix, and there's a good chance you can already see where this is going.
Intimidate is one of the best abilities in the game. The English localizer chose to make the ability's name a verb, but the French localizer chose the noun form instead, which Glare had already taken 2 generations prior. From Gens 3 through 5, Glare and Intimidate have the same French name until Glare was changed in Pokemon X and Y. Now it has this name instead, which roughly means petrifying stare.
That's not the only French example either. Nightshade was Gengar's signature move in Gen 1, but it's been given to many other Pokemon since then. Its original French name was this word that means darkness. Once again, you might be able to guess how this one caused issues. Generation 2 introduced the Dark type, which got the same French name as Nightshade. This problem was also fixed in Pokemon X and Y. Now the move has this name instead, which is a more direct translation of its English name. Isn't Nightshade a kind of flower?
You know what? I think you're right. Nightshade, one word? I think that's right. Yeah, purple flowers. In the same vein, the ability Huge Power was added in Gen 3. It was given this name in German, which means something along the lines of Power Colossus or Power Juggernaut. The move Superpower came along at the same time, and it was given the same name. Unlike the French examples, Huge Power and Superpower's German names have never been changed, so they're still identical to this day. This is a long script.
Really is. It feels a lot longer than it is. I think I've just been like sucking at reading. Here's an example of a bunch of localization teams being backed into a corner at the same time. Kinda. Metronome is one of the silliest moves in the series, because it calls another move at random. The move's Japanese name translates to wag finger, which is a literal description of what the user is doing. The move was called Metronome in English because when you wag your finger back and forth, its movement resembles a metronome.
MEPlaysGames lore, Elias's cats are actually AI generated.
No, they're not. Who told you that?
You told me that when we were having a conversation earlier.
Yes, they are real though.
They are real, we're just doing jokes. As a result, nearly every other language calls it metronome as well. You know, I never realized how many languages words for metronome are cognates. That's pretty neat. The only languages that don't call it metronome are Japanese, Korean, Vietnamese, Cantonese, and Mandarin. This move has had 4 different Mandarin names over the years, none of which I will be attempting to pronounce, but all of them have something to do with moving your finger.
Generation 4 added a new held item, which makes your move stronger if you use them multiple times in a row. Unfortunately, the item looks like this, so what the hell else are you gonna call it other than the metronome? Many of the localizers just decided that the move and item should have the same name, so they're both called metronome in English, French, German, and Spanish.
The Italian version is where things got a little bit funky. The move's name is Metronome, like you probably expected, but the held item wound up being called something else. The Italian localizer chose the name plesimetro, which is the word for pleximeter. That's the name of a medical percussion device, which absorbs the blow when the doctor taps your body with a little hammer. Sometimes a pleximeter is made of wood or ivory, but it can also just be the doctor's finger. Elias sent me a reel in the middle of the video.
It's a good one.
All right, buddy, hang on. People are going crazy. Oh, wait a minute. No, I need this in my life immediately.
Yeah, exactly. Come on, it's a good one.
As it turns out, though, this is still technically an accurate translation. According to our research, this word is also used to refer to a metronome, but it's a very specific type of metronome with additional additional features. You can be a classically trained Italian musician and never hear the word placimetro in a musical context. If you're speaking with an Italian sarrusophone player or something, you should just call it un metronomo. If you play the sarrusophone, leave a comment.
The Italian localizers didn't want the move and item to have the same name, so they came up with an unorthodox alternative. That being said, we think there was a better way for all these localizers to solve the problem. Instead of just giving the item a name that's already taken, or pulling out an extremely obscure synonym, they could have added another word to its name. Call it the Maestro Metronome or something bad that Matt comes up with. I don't know.
Wow.
Maestro Metronome? Come on, dude.
Okay, what would you call it then, smart guy?
I would call it Metronome 2.
That's even worse.
Localizing a video game is no easy task. Pokemon has quite a bit of text and it's translated into many languages, so mistakes are virtually guaranteed to come up every now and then. We're not trying to dunk on any localization teams with this video, but these are the types of rabbit holes Matt likes to fall down. In fact, he found way more mistranslations in his research, so we're gonna revisit this topic a few more times in future videos.
I could pick up Spacer right now and bench press him. No, I couldn't. He's not in the room.
Insert AI generated image of a cat here.
Zulu to, Korean.
Does Zulu still exist as a language?
Yeah, it's one of the official languages of South Africa.
Wow. Its Japanese name is the word. Its Japanese name is the word, like bird.
I knew it.
Sorry.
Yeah,
I think that's good enough.
doesn't want to read the last sentence, does he?
I think Matt may be the biggest dork in the universe, closing parentheses.
All right, we did it.
I think Matt is stupid.
I think Elias is awful, smile.
Nuh-uh.
That took us an hour. Why did that take us an hour?